FTX crashed, bringing down the whole crypto market. There is word that more crashes might come. Could BlockFi file for bankruptcy? If so, what would happen to crypto prices? Well, we'll look at that price analysis with expert Paul from Definity to look at probabilities that the market could drop further. We'll also look at some viewer picks of altcoins to look at. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Rain. And if you like money in crypto and you're looking for a seasoned investor take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family. We have a Telegram link below. It's free to join the Telegram link. Do note I'm not a financial advisor. Paul is not either. I'm a crypto investor myself. Paul invests in many, many markets. We do want to thank our Patreon members. We do have a private Discord that our Patreon members get access to. Now make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show. Let's welcome Paul from Definity. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here. Difficult times. We've got some positive news, some negative news. So yeah, we need to get into it and see what's going on.
Yes, times like this suck, except when you have lots of deployable capital. Then it's really fun because I don't know about you, but I like buying cheap, and it's cheap, and it might even get a little bit cheaper, which is what I'd like to look at with you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we put aside the potential for this downward move, although we didn't want it to happen. Yep. It was possible from a technical perspective. We kept the door open for it, but the chances of it were reducing because the risk on trades were getting closer and closer. And the annoying, actually, we talked about it just on the show last week. We were a day away from the CPI number, which came in as we expected. It was much weaker, and we've seen a massive rally in equities, which we'll have a quick look at. So risk on is happening. The dollar's weakening, but of course you've got this cloud over the crypto space that means that it's going to be very difficult to pull it out of the dive in the short term. But there should be a increasing disparity between this risk on and crypto to the point where I think once the market's been shaken out a little bit further, we could see a pretty decent rally, pretty sharp rally. So this sort of news that comes out at these times is normally indicative of a low. It's normally indicative of what you'd see at the end of a trend. If we think about what sentiment was like at the top of the market when it was at $69,000 and how it feels now, they are completely inverted, which is exactly what we talked about. Again, it's contrary opinion, but it just feels awful, and there's always a good reason not to buy in. And yeah, there is, from a technical point of view, there are some indications that there will be a move a bit lower, but that's just from today being Wednesday. It wouldn't surprise me if things turn around by Friday and we get a bigger rally, but it's because it's so volatile. We've really got to go one step at a time. It is a bit tricky, but I'm slightly more optimistic about the longer term because I believe that the risk on rally that we're expecting is happening. It's just not being enjoyed by the crypto space, and there's obviously a good reason for that. But once the market knows that, it will factor it in. And I think longer term players are going to think, well, in every new area of a market, it happened with NASDAQ stocks way back when, and it happens with every sector. It gets hit and something bad happens. We were talking offline about what happened with Enron and what was going on at that time when Enron collapsed and the whole industry was, under a cloud, and you would have thought exactly the same thing. That's it, never touching it again. Don't want to know. And look at where we are now and how it's rallied over the years. Hopefully it won't take years. Sorry.
Yeah, that big collapse brought about some really good lows in particularly the NASDAQ, but also the S&P 500 in general. But yeah, then we popped right out of it. Like, actually, the market rebounded pretty fast from there. It felt like it was forever because I was graduating from the university at that time. And so nobody was hiring. But within a year and a half, the whole market was corrected. And that's generally the equities market or stock market, which responds much slower than the crypto market. What are some of the things that you're watching right now as kind of an indicator that things should be going a lot better for crypto if it weren't for the really bad news? Essentially, if I were to sum up what FTX was doing, they were trading on leverage with other people's funds. And because the market kept going against them, they lost not only their own funds, but other people's funds. And so this just really all came to light. So not only were they using their own funds to trade on leverage, they were using their user funds to trade on leverage. At least that's what's being discussed, is what happened.
Yeah. You have to respect the market. You've got to respect risk. And it's rule number one. And if you don't, in size, this is what happens. It doesn't matter who you are. And it's happened many times before, to be honest. If you go back in history, you'll see lots of companies have made mistakes like this. And of course, eventually it comes to light. But normally it will come to light in a big bear market. I suppose there's been a bear market, a winter in crypto, but there hasn't been a big bear market in the broader market. So it's slightly unusual in that sense. But that's why I think the market will shrug it off eventually, and it will move higher, because people will be looking at the opportunities. There's still lots of opportunities in the sector. There's still individual currencies, or crypto assets, I should say, that are doing relatively well considering. So, and going into this, it was a fragmented market anyway. You had to be careful what you picked. And at some point it will all synchronize and everything will be moving up in one kind of synchronized move, which is what happens when you get a major bull market. But even the disparity between Bitcoin and Ether was obvious. Bitcoin wasn't rallying as much as Ether, and that's still the case, to be fair. But what I'm looking at in terms of risk on is, if we start off with the equity markets are always the most sensitive to risk. And I'm expecting that to be crypto as well at some point, and to respond to positives. But at the moment, it still seems to be that equity markets are the most sensitive barometer of what's happening within the economy. Of course, it's more traditional, and they do respond very much more to interest rate moves. And this is a chart, the Dow. We can see how the Dow has rallied very aggressively, and that is an upward trend. It has it topped out? Possibly, but the market's short. They're shorting it as it's going up, so they don't believe that this is a solid move, and there's still a lot of gloom there. But as I say, the technicals are looking good. It's broken a resistance line. Yes, there could be a bit of a pullback, a bit of profit taking, but I still think this has got more to go on the upside. Now, the Nasdaq's been underperforming. If you can see that, if I flick between the two charts, you can see how the Nasdaq has been under a bit of a cloud, because people are moving into away from growth stocks and into value stocks. And what that means is that internet stocks tend to be, they don't produce much income, but they do go for market share, and the market likes that and will pay up for the premium of, say, for example, Amazon being able to spend a lot of money but get market share that further down the road would be extremely valuable. When they're slightly more cautious, they move into things that definitely will pay you a dividend. And with interest rates moving up, that seems to have focused people's minds on actually receiving some income, especially with interest rates being a competitor to putting money in the stock market. So the Nasdaq's not done as well, but it's still moving up. And the S&P has got a considerable weighting of larger tech stocks in it, that mean that it will underperform the Dow, but it's still performing pretty well. And I still think that's got more to go on the upside. So this trend is up. We had it spike low, and the risk on play is working nicely in the broader market. Now, if we go to, let's have a look at the dollar, we can see how the dollar has collapsed from this high. Remember, we were talking about this being a high, triple top, had to break this trend line. It's broken it. I mean, we left the door open for a stop loss move to take out highs just in case, because week on week, a lot can happen, as we know. So we've got to look at the possibilities, even if they're lower probabilities. But the market's come all the way down. Even the Japanese yen, remember I was saying about how the Japanese yen was collapsing, and that has strengthened aggressively against the US dollar, and looks like it's probably going to go a bit further. So the dollar is weakening, and that means that the market is becoming even. I mean, what you'll read in the press will probably be all bearish and looking at a slowdown in the housing market and saying how things are going to be horrible next year. But inflation is probably not going to be as high as people expect. Interest rates, even if they stabilize at current levels, that's still good enough to produce a risk-on rally. And actually, I think yields are going to fall further from here. They've already started to turn down. This is the 10-year yield. So mortgage rates are going to be a bit cheaper. And lo and behold, that's going to cause people to borrow money and start putting it in various potentially risky places. So why not put it in crypto? So that background, if that wasn't so positive, I'd be a bit more cautious on, well, I'm very cautious on crypto at the moment, but I think I'd be even more cautious. But the underlying support is there for people to start being more risk on with the crypto space. Now, we can look at the individual crypto charts if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start with Bitcoin. And what I was going to ask you is what your thoughts be if this massive bad news hadn't come out about FTX and it crashing down in flames, likely to guess that crypto would have bounced up like these other markets did.
Yeah, the thing with that's a really interesting question. And the thing with technical analysis is you can see a problem, but you don't know what that problem is. And Bitcoin was underperforming Ethereum for a reason. So the market knew something, because people know that there's something going on. So I think if the news hadn't hit, it probably would have rallied, but not as much as we would have expected. And it might have been a bit of a damp squib, because the news has to come out. So somebody somewhere knows what's going on, and therefore the sector will underperform until that news comes out, until it's revealed. So the market needs a purge. And in some ways that could explain why it's been going down so much without any sort of real explanation. But there's a partial explanation of dollar strength and yields going up. That's partly why, but it's a great sector. So why there should be this big bear market? So now we've got the reason, and we needed that reason to come out. That's the final purge.
And perhaps some of the big money, because CZ seemed to suspect some of the things, but perhaps there was other people, big money people, that knew something was wrong at FTX and Alameda. And so they were kind of sitting on the sidelines. Maybe that's why the charts were reflecting that.
Definitely. Absolutely. Definitely. That's what it does. I can't tell you what the reasons are, but I can tell you that somebody knows. And that's on the smaller crypto assets. It's difficult because smaller players can move the market, and it's difficult to get what would be regarded as a consensus view. The more people that are involved in trading, the less influence one single group can have. So you want there to be a lot of volume, a lot of trading. But with the majors, yeah, definitely. I think somebody knew. I mean, there were certain people who suspected that there was something wrong, but there would be definitely people who knew exactly what was going on. And I think that would have been, why the market has been under a cloud. So now we've got the reveal. There's a thing in technical analysis that everything that's known about a market is in the price, and including things that people don't know about the market, that's also in the price. So that's my little addition to it. It's like what you don't know is there as well, and until it gets revealed. And so now we know about it. Okay, so either there's more to come, in which case there's a bit more of a purge, or that's it, and therefore it should play catch up with everything else, because we're in a risk on mode. If we're in a risk off mode, then it would just be straight down, and that's it. So in analyzing the chart here, of course we've got to be still very cautious. We've got this sharp move, we've got this relatively compressed price action, which needs to be negated. And what I mean by that is these rising highs, declining highs, need to be negated for me to buy it on a short-term basis. So it's not good enough that it's inverted commas low. I want to see it break higher and negate this potential pattern in Bitcoin.
This potential pattern suggests it's probably going to break down lower.
Yes, yeah, it does, unfortunately. But we are approaching this massive longer-term support, which I think from a first hit basis is going to be very tempting to buy. So it might be that we get a spike down and then a reversal. So, you've got to be watching this very, very carefully. Now, if this doesn't act as what we would call a continuation pattern, this should happen very quickly. So within a few days.
Yep.
If it doesn't take the low out in a few days, it's like the clock's ticking and then it reverses and the risk starts to go back up, because it's like, you think of it as a train in a station. If it's not moving, it can wait for a bit, but if it doesn't move, people get out and they go by some other method. And that's how I describe it with continuation patterns. If they don't work in the right time frame, they get reversed and the market goes up. So that's what we've got here. But sentiment wise, putting everything together, I'm interested in trying, and I would very caution against trying to pick a low. I'm keen to see evidence that this is the final purge. So if we take the low out and rallies back up, that's one good sign. Or it just breaks that resistance, breaks back over this this low, the previous low, that would be a good sign as well. Or a test of this Fibonacci level, which is at 14,715. Fibonacci levels tend to work on either exactly like bang on or not at all. So that's why some traders just put buy orders around there. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody does anything at all other than wait or do whatever feels right to you, but that's what the charts are looking at like. Of course, we can't talk about a long-term reversal until it recovers all the way back. I mean, really, it's got to come all the way back to 25,000 and break this downward trend line. But if it does, we'd be looking at sort of 50 to 70,000 all the way back up, which I think eventually is what we'll be talking about. That will happen at some stage. It's just we're not actually there as yet. So Ethereum is definitely far more. I don't know if you can see some. My charts just zoomed in for some reason, so I'm hoping that it hasn't done it on yours. But Ethereum is, well, it's not even broken the low, is it? So it's not even broken the previous low. So it's much, much stronger. The only thing that concerns me here is that we've got this symmetrical triangle, or some might say that's a pennant, but we've got this potential continuation pattern, which assumes another move to the downside. So I would be careful about that. But this 1280 level for me has been very, very pivotal. So it was the breakout point here. Couldn't get below here. It started the rally here. We're still in this big range, really, as far as Ethereum's concerned, even with all the bad news. I mean, this was an awful decline, of course. But if we take a step back, reversal patterns from a long-term perspective tend to be very volatile like this. So, yeah, we've got to see how this continuation pattern plays out. If it hasn't broken this low by the end of this week, I think the risk reverts back up, and it wouldn't surprise me to see this move first. So I'd be watching this to move ahead of Bitcoin because it's relatively stronger. It's holding up much better than Ethereum.
Cool. Why don't we take a look at some viewer picks? Now, if you have some suggestions of what you want us to review next week, put them in the comments section below. And if you can, if it's something you like and follow, tell us what you like about it. We always give priority to the viewer picks where they put a bunch of information about what they like about the project in there, some of the fundamental information. Today, we're going to look at Cardano. We'll look at Omi, Illuvium, Star Atlas. I also want to throw cornucopias or Copi in there as well. So do you mind if we step over and look at Cardano first?
Yes, absolutely. So Cardano is still in this correction, unfortunately, which it's been in for a very long time. We had this descending triangle pattern that broke at 42 cents. The market went down. I think we were talking about it rallying back here and maybe starting a new bull phase. That was the potential, but it's kind of stopped back at that breakdown level. So it's used the support as resistance. So that's a classic case of the barrier to the downside has become the barrier to the upside. But overall, unfortunately, this is still in a correction, and this is the trend line that we drew in last time. We've got to break this downward trend line before I can turn bullish on it, or we've got to see some form of spike reversal or reversal pattern before I can call this the end of the trend. Now, if it does fall further, there are some natural support points. Unfortunately, they are quite far away, but if the market goes for one more sort of purge, these are the levels where I would say, okay, that might be it. At 18 cents, 18 and a half cents, that's the beginning of the breakout. If you see how the market really accelerated from that point. So there should be good support down there. Now, I'm not saying it will definitely go there. I'm just saying that if it goes a bit low and starts to accelerate, then on a first touch basis, that might be a place to look out for a rebound. But at the moment, I think we've got to play this very carefully until it shows some signs of strength. We could also, as a slightly earlier warning, draw in another downward trend line that comes in from these highs, because they are the pattern of resistance that have been demarking the downward trend. So in other words, each one of these is what defines a downward trend. It's a lower high. So if we can break one of these, that would be a really good sign. So getting back over 43, because it's resistance, 42, 43 cents would be the first sign that things are starting to turn. Now, I know it's tempting to just want to buy something that's inverted commas this cheap, and I can really understand it. I'm also, this could be the low as well. If the sentiment is anything to go by, we are close to a low. But the way I look at it, I'd rather pay more for it and it be going in the right direction than be sort of picking it and being stuck on the way down. But yeah, so that one, I think I'm hoping that when the cloud lifts from the whole sector, it will start to synchronize with the more risk-on markets that we've seen before.
Yeah, and look how cheap it is. It's at 32 cents, which is about 20x of where the previous all-time bottom was in the last bear market. It hit just below 1.7 cents. So it's still up 20x from there, but it's fallen all the way from it hit $3.40, even though it doesn't really show that here. It ever so quickly hit that point. So it's down 90 plus percent.
Yeah.
So heavily on discount. As we'll see with all of these tokens, right? So all these ones today are good projects. I want to look a little bit more at Illuvium. They have some vesting schedule concerns, even though I love the project. I think it's one of the top gaming projects being developed, and I'm really excited about the game. I'm excited about this long term, and I'm still waiting on the sidelines, waiting for a good buy. On Illuvium, we'll talk about Star Atlas, and then we'll talk about cornucopias, and we'll also cover a Comey's token, OMI.
Yeah. So this is, it had an attempted breakout, which we saw here with good volume, which was great because it gone through some key resistance as well. The only problem is it came back and sort of sat on it and then broke it again, which is really not great at all. So what that's ended up doing is giving a short-term buy signal, which then becomes negated, and then we're back into this longer-term downward trend, which is a bit unfortunate. But I've seen this happen before, and this resistance here at 81 is so massive. Now, what you shouldn't do is draw in patterns that haven't completed. But I will say that this sort of move here is very similar to other patterns that I've seen that end up being like a head and shoulders reversal. So this is the left shoulder. It dips down gets everybody out. Then you get the head, and then it comes back up and you get the right shoulder, and then it forms this longer term base. That means if that's what's going on, I don't think it would change its trend for a good few months yet. But it's possible, and it seems to trade quite nicely from a technical point of view. The only problem is that trend at the moment is downwards. So we have to see how far down it wants to go before we get that kind of dip in the head, as it were. Towards 36, I mean, we're getting very long-term support coming in around 30. So this low down here, massive support.
Mm-hmm.
So I can imagine that there will be some interest coming in to buy it because it's done 100% retracement of this rally. But I would also use this marker of these downward trend lines. For me, that would be my tripwire to the first step that it's turning around earlier. So a major low would be a reversal pattern that, for example, if it goes straight up here, then if I can tell you that would look like a fantastic double bottom, and it would be a double bottom breaking through 81 as well, 81 resistance. So if this does stop the dive and start to turn around, the first step for me would be a break of this trend line. That would be my first warning that things are improving. And then if it starts to head towards this 81, then it'd be clearer that a base is being formed, and this could be a longer term buy. But for the moment, unfortunately, it's looking very similar to the Bitcoin chart with this little continuation pattern. So we need that pattern to either confirm or negate. Hopefully it negates and it goes up, but at the moment it looks like it's going to continue down.
Yeah, that price is looking so juicy. I remember when it hit like 1900 and it was just astronomical. In fact, I remember when it was on its way up and it hit 300, and I hadn't been following the project prior to that. And I saw it hit 300 and I was like, well, I missed this boat. Of course, it went even higher, which often happens, but now it's come back down and is getting so cheap. It looks so juicy and attractive. I might start buying into it soon. Even though, so it's hard to time the exact bottom. I rarely hit exactly the bottom, but I like to buy things on heavy discount. And it's kind of like, what are those auctions where like the price keeps falling, but then it could sell out, a Dutch auction, and you never know when it's going to sell out. So that's kind of what happens in this kind of market. You take a different approach where you wait for the confirmation that it's going up, and you have lots of different markets that you can invest in. So looking between all the different markets, you're just kind of looking for things that hit your right side. Me, I'm just focused on the crypto market because the returns are so high. And even if I miss buying the bottom and I end up buying early, I'm okay with it. Like when I bought Cardano at 5 cents and then some more at 4 cents, then some more at 3 cents. I actually missed the bottom and didn't get any at 1.7 cents. But nobody was crying for me when Cardano hit $3 either, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, let's take a look. Let's jump in and look at Omi, and then we'll look at some more gaming projects. Omi has some big news that they're announcing more on their VVverse this weekend at DesignerCon. I will be going to that with some friends, so I will be at DesignerCon this weekend. I will be doing some videos from there, so I'll keep everyone up to date on that.
Yeah, so I'm going to just go back into my TradingView chart because it, for some reason, zoomed in and wouldn't give me my data. So just give me a second here and I will be with you. So Omi, here we are.
There we go.
Yeah, so Omi, look, so you can see exactly what we've been talking about with Bitcoin. It's that pattern there that it's extending.
But things are just broken lower, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's that pattern. I'll flick back to Bitcoin so you can see it's a very similar sort of pattern. It's hit the low, bounced, hit the low, bounced. These bounces are they're declining, and then it takes the low out. So this is what we've got to be careful of, that it just sinks through this low and this becomes a continuation pattern. Now we know if it's failed because it will negate these highs. So it's still, as I say, very volatile. So we have to see. But this has actually confirmed the break lower. And I think it's fair to say that the brunt of any fear is going to be taken by the altcoins and what people perceive are the riskier sort of products. But that also means that if they're wrong, there could be some fantastic upside as well. So what you've got here also is the RSI. This is the relative strength index, and some people use this as a trading system. I think you've got to be careful when the market's trending, because it will show oversold, which is what happens when it's below 30, even when the market's trending very aggressively. So you have to know the context of where it's trading. For the moment, that is still unfortunately going lower. Anything that's broken into a new low, for me, I have to be careful technically, in the same way that if it breaks into a new high, if you were to flip this chart, I'd be going long. I'd say, yeah, that's a buy. We go with it. So the opposite is the same. It's unfortunately, at the very least, a wait until this recovers back over this. If we think of this as being the shore and it's in the sea at the moment, I'd want it to go over this 0.0011 level to recover at least some of the move, to show that there's a little bit of buying. The big level here for me that marks a massive base. It was such a shame that it failed at that point, but that would have been a massive double bottom and it would have been off to the races. So unfortunately that wasn't to be, but it could be that it's forming an even larger base. So we just have to wait. But for the moment, the trend is down. So we have to go with that.
Here's some really good news for viewers that are looking at what potentially could 100x in this next bull run. And as part of that analysis, you have to look at where the market cap is. And so this is what has me really excited about Copi, is that the market cap now is down to 240 million. And it doesn't mean it can't go lower. In fact, it looks like it's going to go lower, which is exciting to me. Because then to hit 100x from here, this has to go to 24 billion in the bull market, which is not that hard for a project like this to hit. Doesn't mean it will. I just look at probabilities, and the probability is strongly there. In fact, I think the market cap could go much higher than that, as long as there isn't some crazy bad thing that comes out about it, some kind of fraud on behalf of the founders or something like what we saw with FTX, or, something messes up. Like, they don't really have, I can't imagine that they're doing leverage trading on their books with other people's money or even their own. But I'm grateful to whoever it is that's selling at these prices and bringing it down even cheaper and flush that out, because there must be some big money, or maybe some people that have it from back the last bear market where they got Omi really cheap, and so they're still selling at a profit, but willing to dump at these lows. Or it could be some panic sellers and bringing the price down further. I already have a big position in this, and I'm going to look to add more to it, especially if it breaks lower than this.
I think it's fair to say that this is the sort of market where using your fundamental analysis is going to be key, because it's exactly the sort of thing that the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater in times like this. Absolutely. So if somebody's done their fundamental research and they say, well, look, this is actually still a really good project, it's under a cloud because of the broader market, that's what we want. So those are the things that we'll see a big snapback, because there'll be 1,000, 100,000 people like you saying this is a fantastic trade at this level, good risk reward, and they'll just jump in. And so we want to see that evidence I want to see the evidence in the chart. But it's very interesting to know that there are potentially good projects out there that are just being unduly pushed lower. But that's all part of the research, isn't it? It's all part of the opportunity. So yeah, I mean, I like the story because of what you've said about it, and I'm really hoping that this will give another buy signal, and I can get some.
Yeah, I like this project a lot. They've been doing a lot of great things. Let's take a look at the next one, Star Atlas. For the viewers watching, I want them to think just about narratives right now. And months ago, everyone was talking about crypto gaming, and there was tons of money in crypto gaming. And that's when they all reached highs. As a contrarian investor, I like to think about, okay, what has had a major narrative before? What is a big part of crypto that probably deserves a lot of narrative? Because I do think blockchain gaming is going to change video gaming in general. And so it's completely out of narrative right now. And that's when all these amazing prices get hit. And that's what I like to see. I'm a discount shopper. I like to buy when things are really, really cheap. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell if they're cheap enough, like Star Atlas from its highs. And I'm not even sure that probably that's all this chart covers. Might have even gone cheaper before that. Let me just double check and see what the high on this was. Star Atlas. The Star Atlas actually has 2 tokens, and they hit their high in September 2021 of 23 cents. Okay, it shows it there. In fact, this shows it higher at 30 cents. Perfect. That's what I wanted to see, is what the total high was. So now it's down 100. It's down 99% from there. That starts getting attractive for me.
Yeah. So the trend, as you can see, it has been pretty aggressive without much of a turnaround. And we did have potentially something going on here. Left shoulder head, and then the right shoulder started to form, but then it negated and the trend continued down. There isn't a reversal pattern for me to get my teeth into to say, look, this is the level I would buy with a stop. You can always try and do that where it is now, but look how close it is to the low. It could easily get taken out. So I need this, at the minimum, this trend line to be broken, or this resistance here to get taken out 0.0038 to 0.004. If that goes, then we'll break this trend line. It recovers some resistance. Then we can start talking about perhaps a longer term reversal. Unfortunately, this is still under pressure. We can see that. And I'm not even allowed to say buy it, because that would be breaking the rules of technical analysis. The trend is still in effect. So even if I'm wrong, that's part of it. But the point of that is, you are looking for certain reversal patterns. You're looking for certain signs that tell you it's over. One of those is a spike, which is a very sharp move to the downside, which shows capitulation, and then a reversal of trend. So if we had something like that, I could say, well, that's something I could move with. Or we have a break of a trend line or a reversal pattern. So none of those things are visible for me. A very sharp move to the upside that's perhaps beginning an impulsive trend, that's a possibility as well. So something that sticks out on the chart as being unusual, but on the positive side. The only single thing that I can say is that sentiment in the whole sector is so negative that could be building up for a rally. But at the moment, there's nothing other than that external factor to say that it could be a buy.
Yeah, there's lots of bearish news everywhere, and that's when things usually hit the very best, right? So the bottom of the previous market was, there was 2 bottoms, and so the most recent bottom was March of 2020, and everyone was concerned, that because this new virus, that a bunch of people were going to die, the businesses would collapse, and that everything would happen bad. Well, that brought about a bottom. And so when there's that kind of panic going around, that it's just this complete unsettling fear, like what people are feeling now, that's usually when the bottoms get put in. Now, are we at the bottom? I don't know, but I think we're probably close. And so I'm an investor. I am not a soothsayer. I'm not a prophet. I can't see into the future. I look to buy when things are low, and then I sell it when the hype gets really high. Right now, the hype is very, very low, and people are fleeing the space. That is the time that I love to be around. And secondly, I love to be around when everyone's coming into the space, but only having taken a bunch of positions already when everything was cheap, so that I can sell into that crazy demand. All right. So yeah, Star Atlas. I'd like to have some of these projects on again. I've interviewed these projects, Illuvium, Star Atlas. Copi has not joined us yet, even though I've covered them a lot. Let's take a look at cornucopias. This is one that we've had a bunch of times. So yes, they have been way more resilient than everything else, which has been crazy. It's been crazy strong, even given what we've gone through. Look at this price. It's acting very differently.
So here you have it. You have, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for things that are managing to hold up. I mean, it doesn't guarantee that this will go much higher, but this makes me more excited because what we've got this base. So there's a base here at 1.5 cents. So I know where my risk is. I know where I'm wrong. If I buy it here, I know I can bail out, or at least I've got that brick wall that might hold the retracement. But yeah, this is performing really well. I mean, it's massive trend, retraced because of the news, but it looks like it's fighting to go back up again, which is what we want. So yeah, I'd say whilst it's above this 1.5 cents, it's in a buy zone, and I like the look of it. So I like the fact that it is relatively holding up well as well. And again, this is the problem when the market's in this fragmented state. It just takes a bit more work to find the ones that are trying to lead the way up. There will be fewer of them, and they'll be, as I say, harder to find, but it doesn't mean there won't be any at all. When everything does turn around, and it will turn around, then most things will be going up very aggressively. So what you pick may be less important, because if everything's going up, you're managing to buy something that's moving up within the bull market. But until this phase, kind of the bearish phase, the winter ends and we move into this more bullish phase, one of the interesting things technically that we'll see, it's definitely worth knowing, is that the sentiment will stay negative while the charts look positive. So when they've turned around, obviously, you know, Jay, you're going to be bullish ahead of it because you know what you want, but the main street will be still very bearish on crypto, even when it's rallying, because this thing will overhang. That is where the big opportunities come, because knowing that the sentiment's negative is exactly what's happening here. Sentiment's negative, yet it's going up. And that's what we want to see in the majors. Sentiment being negative, and then people scratching their head saying, well, hang on, why is this rallying? I thought the sector was finished. I thought it was all bad. I thought nobody wanted it. But the market doesn't listen to that. The market listens to, or the market's looking into the future and saying, this has been a really great buying opportunity. And we're now looking at how things are going to be sorted out in 9 months to a year's time. And they're sort of predicting the more positive outlook that will come at the end of it, when there's a load of money swashing around the system and looking for a home because interest rates haven't gone up as much as people think. So this is a great example of potentially what we could be facing in the bigger picture, even though, you know, the news feels so bad and it is a difficult time.
Yeah, and some of my, excitement just comes from having been through these big pullbacks. Even though I've only been in the crypto space for 5 years, prior to crypto, I did other investing and a lot of real estate investing for 20 years. And so these cycles just happen, right? And when the news is terrible and everyone's hating on it, is usually a really good time to buy. I remember 2010. Prices, there was a market that I was operating in where 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes that had been $250,000 were now selling in foreclosure for $50,000. Wow. So you could buy one of those with 20% down, which was $10K down. They're renting for $1,000 a month, and your mortgage would be about $350 a month. And so literally your cash flow,
printing money. That's like amazing.
It was just incredible. And yet everyone's like, real estate is the worst. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. And now those homes are sitting about 300,000, and now they're correcting downwards again, and that's just starting. But they took a ride from 50 to 350,000. And so you just see these markets and these cycles play out. Where are we in the crypto cycle? Well, we're down, as we just showed on Star Atlas, 99%. Many projects down 90% plus. Now, in general, is that a much better place to be buying? Abso-freaking-lutely. Where does everyone panic and get scared and sell? Right in there. And so it's as simple as doing the opposite of what the general masses are doing. Like, who's selling OMI at current prices? I don't know, but I'm glad they are. Who's selling like Illuvium at the current price? I don't know. Plus, is a lot of pre-sale investors. Part of the reason that Illuvium price is doing what it's doing is that pre-sale is now vesting, like the people that invested in the pre-sale. And there's a couple different pre-sale prices that happen in there. But they're finally getting their tokens vested. And so some people are panic selling out of Illuvium, bringing to really attractive prices. And so like right now, these prices are so attractive. They're juicy, they're delicious. And some people are tempted to panic sell out. And if that's you, I would just say, have patience, stick around long term. So you see what this is like. This is the type of place where experienced people are buying and not selling. So specifically, I'm not going to give you financial advice. I'm just telling you what myself and other people are doing. And what we're definitely not doing is selling at these prices because we're scared.
Okay.
Cool. Well, Paul, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And we'll look forward to it next week. And I'll let you know how the OMI conference goes. I'll be doing some videos this weekend while I'm there. It's actually Designer Con, and Vivi is going to be there, and they'll be making some announcement about the metaverse that they're building for. And
exactly.
So we'll see
the future's coming regardless, isn't it? I mean, it's not like it's going away. So
much is happening. Projects reaching out to me behind the scenes, telling me what they're doing. Like this project Cortex that I interviewed a year ago, like they reach out to me with something they're doing that's really exciting. So there's lots of great stuff coming. A lot of great projects are still building, and people are just panicked now. This is what the last bear market looked like. If you look back at prices in March of 2020, ask yourself if that was a good time to buy or sell. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. This wrap is for all of you to reinforce the principles that I share on a weekly basis.
Came into this space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, right before you could, was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss, cause I always make the time in mind. I take the one out cause I'm patient like that, and I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. The principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, go parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy, but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this wrong can soon become a bear market. Learning and growing, and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time, the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort, cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, say the haters be crapping. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. This game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough, and that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.